Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to today's reflections, we're going to continue to discuss life and leadership lessons from Surah al-Kahf, based upon this book by that name, by Professor Dr. Hassan Mohi-ud-Din Qadri. We're going to continue from 189 of the book, verse 94, Gog and Magog. The narrative of Gog and Magog, referenced in religious texts and traditions, represents a significant eschatological and theological concept. In Quranic account, Surah al-Kahf verses 92 to 99, Gog and Magog are depicted as a corrupt and destructive force confined behind a barrier constructed by Dhul al-Qarnayn. This barrier, built with iron and molten copper, was erected to protect a vulnerable community, highlighting divine intervention in controlling chaos until the designated time of their release before the last hour. In Judaism and Christianity, Gog and Magog appear predominantly in the book of Ezekiel, symbolizing the apocalyptic conflict. The Talmud further associates their emergence with the Messiah and the ultimate renewal of the world. Similarly, Islamic eschatology emphasizes their role as a major sign of the last hour. Islamic traditions detail their relentless efforts to breach the wall confining them, leading to widespread devastation until divine intervention eradicates them. Historically, scholars have sought to identify the location of the wall of Dhul, debating its connection to structures such as the Great Wall of China or the Wall of Caucasus. However, these theories have faced criticism due to discrepancies in materials, geography, and Quranic description. The concept of Gog and Magog transcends individual religious traditions, symbolizing a universal challenge to humanity and serving as a reminder of divine sovereignty over creation and history. Their story remains a subject of theological, historical, and scholarly exploration, inviting reflection on eschatological themes and humanity's ultimate destiny. There are leadership lessons from the story of Gog and Magog. The story of Dhul and his handling of the Gog and Magog challenge serves as a treasure trove of wisdom for today's business leaders, offering lessons that transcend time and context. Let's delve into this narrative and explore the profound leadership and management insights that function as both practical tools and inspirations for personal growth and ethical leadership. 1. Visionary leadership. Imagine entering a land with fear and chaos where people plead for protection. Dhul didn't just address the immediate problem, he envisioned a solution that would endure beyond his time. Instead of a quick fix, he constructed a fortified barrier, ensuring safety for generations. For modern leaders, this serves as a reminder to think beyond today. True leadership involves crafting strategies that address current challenges while paving the way for a sustainable future. Are you merely putting out the fires, or are you building a legacy of solutions that will endure? And, with some of the crises, especially that we are facing today in the modern world, crises with geopolitics, crises with various economic situations that we're dealing with, and other crises that, such as the environmental crisis as well. These are things which are not easy to resolve. And this is linked to this. It's like, what are we doing? Are we just like putting out fires? Are we like putting a plaster on something? Or are we actually dealing with the underlying problems and putting in place long-term solutions? I mean, this is one thing that we see with our political leaders. They're here for only 4 to 5 years, and then they face an election in 4 to 5 years' time, which is not a bad thing because otherwise we could have dictatorship. But at the end of the day, when it comes to like 3 or 4 years have passed, then they're looking at what are their chances in the next election. And sometimes this hampers them from doing long-term planning. And similarly, in businesses, you'll find similar sort of like short-term planning. We have to get the dividends paid to shareholders. And what are those dividends going to be? Are they going to be more? Or are they going to be less? Or, are they going to be happy with their return? And so similarly, all of these pressures, sometimes they distract people from looking at longer term solutions. And we need to not just have like annual and 5-year plans. We need to have plans for what we're going to do in the next 50 to 100 years. If we don't do that, then we end up falling short. 2, empowering collaboration. When the community offered to pay him for his efforts, Dhul response was profound. Instead of taking their money, he called them to action, involving them in the very solution they sought. He turned passive recipients into active participants. For today's leaders, empowering your team isn't just about delegating tasks, it's about inspiring ownership. When individuals feel they are part of the solution, their engagement and dedication increase. Are you fostering a culture of collaboration, or are you just managing everything on your own? Very important point with leaders. You get some leaders that they just themselves, they try to deal with everything, or they try to micromanage everything. What you really need, in whether it's in a government or in a company or in any kind of leadership situation, you need your team on your side. You need to be working with your team. You need to be engaging them. And that's not to say there aren't times when leaders have to step up and actually make decisions and lead. But for the most part, you want to actually bring your team along with you, and you want them to be active participants. So this is something that Dhul achieved here with people that originally were just people who were suffering, and they needed a solution, but he actually involved them in producing the solution. Oh, Shalom. 3, resource management. Dhul approach to building the barrier was both practical and innovative. He utilized iron and molten copper, simple, readily available materials, to create a lasting solution. This resourcefulness demonstrates the power of thinking creatively without constraints, or within constraints. One sec. Technical issue. Forgot to plug the laptop in. I guess it's going to happen at some point. Where were we? This resourcefulness demonstrates the power of thinking creatively within constraints. For business leaders, how often do we get caught up in waiting for better tools or more resources? The truth is that innovation often thrives under limitations. The key lies in seeking opportunities where others see obstacles. Are you making the most of what you already have? This is a common problem when people face problems. It's like, do we see it as a problem, or do we see it as a challenge, and then try to see how we can actually resolve that challenge? And a lot of people just see problems, but every problem is really a challenge. And when there's a challenge, there's also an opportunity. If you can resolve that challenge in a positive way, then you make something of yourself. You make something that, and not just of yourself, you make something useful happen, which benefits people. It's often when we face these challenges that we see what we're made of. 4, ethical leadership. Dhul refusal to accept payment is a striking example of ethical leadership. He recognized that the power and resources he held were a trust from Allah, not a means for personal gain. For you as a leader, your actions set the tone for your organization. Ethical decisions build trust, foster loyalty, and establish an enduring reputation. Does integrity guide your decisions, or do integrity guide your decisions, or do immediate rewards influence them? We mentioned this earlier about people looking for short-term rewards and short-term solutions, or to mediate, hang on to what they have, looking for short-term solutions. But we have to think more long-term. I think this is an issue that I was going to say we have in the West. I think we do have in the West at the moment, but we haven't always had it in the West. But some countries, they look at, like I said, they look at what they're going to be doing in 100 years' time. I know Britain used to have that kind of approach, and some of the European countries used to have that approach. The Romans also used to think that their empire was going to endure for 1,000 years, and they planned for that. And hence, we see that some of their buildings are still standing because they built them properly. They invested in their infrastructure, and because of it, a lot of their infrastructure is still with us. Now, I'm not saying we have to plan for 1,000 years, but whether we're running a business or an organization, or however we're actually actively participating and leading within society, are we just looking at what's going to happen tomorrow or next month or next year or within the next 5 years? Or are we looking at where we're going to be in 50 to 100 years' time? Because if we're not looking at where we're going to be in 50 to 100 years' time, we're not planning for that. And if we're not planning for that, we're going to have problems. 5, adaptability and problem solving. Faced with the unique threat of Gog and Magog, Dhul did not hesitate to adapt and to innovate. His solutions were customized to the specific needs of the situation, seamlessly blending practicality with foresight. For leaders in today's dynamic world, challenges are inevitable, but your response defines your leadership. Be adaptable, open to new ideas, and ready to embrace change. Are you facing challenges with a rigid mindset or a spirit focused on problem solving? 6, servant leadership. Throughout the story, Dhul remains humble, viewing his authority as a responsibility rather than a privilege. His leadership is based on serving others, guided by a profound sense of accountability to Allah. For modern leaders, true leadership is not about commanding, it is about serving. It's about uplifting others and using your position to create value beyond yourself. Are you leading with humility, or are you caught in the trappings of power? It's a challenge that any kind of leadership position that you are put in, it puts upon you. Do you see yourself as serving within a role of serving your organization, your community, your country, your business, whatever that role happens to be? Or does the power go to your head? For a lot of people, the power goes to their head. But remember, whatever role we're in, we are simply a person doing a job. And it should be seen with humility and responsibility, and we just do our best. Otherwise, when the power goes to your head, you no longer see things clearly. And that's when you miss things and you become out of touch. And it's not long before you lose that position. 7, accountability and gratitude. After completing the barrier, Dhul didn't boast about his achievement. Instead, he attributed it to Allah's mercy, acknowledging his role as a mere instrument of divine will. He also reminded the people that the barrier was temporary and that ultimate reliance must always be on Allah. For reflective leaders, gratitude and accountability are the hallmarks of outstanding leadership. Celebrate success, but remain grounded, recognizing the collective effort and higher purpose behind every achievement. Are you fostering gratitude in your leadership journey? 8. Sustainability. The barrier wasn't just effective, it was built to endure, offering a sustainable solution to the community's problem. Dhul actions highlight the importance of planning with the future in mind. For today's leaders, sustainability isn't just a buzzword, it is a mindset. Whether relating to environmental responsibility or the creation of enduring systems, leaders must think long term. Are your strategies designed for lasting impact or only for temporary success? And 9, preparedness for the future. Dhul recognized that one day the barrier would collapse as part of Allah's divine will. This acknowledgement reflects his awareness of the transient nature of worldly accomplishments. For visionary leaders, nothing is perfect, not even the most robust systems. True leadership lies in preparing for change, embracing impermanence, and leaving behind an inspiring legacy. Are you ready to navigate the future with faith and flexibility? The story of Dhul offers an ethical, visionary, and profound human blueprint for leadership. It challenges us to reflect on our approach to leadership, urging us to move beyond self interest and consider the greater good. In today's fast paced, ever changing world, timeless lessons from this story serve as a guiding light, inspiring us to lead with wisdom, humility, and purpose. What kind of leader do you aspire to be? The answer may lie in this powerful story. 13 questions about the story of Dhul. 1. Who was Dhul, and how does his story reflect the themes of leadership and divine guidance in the Quran? Answer. Dhul is mentioned in Surah al-Kahf, Surah 18, ayah 83 to 98, as a righteous and divinely guided king to whom Allah granted immense power and resources. His story reflects the Quranic themes of just leadership and reliance on divine guidance. Allah says, "We had established his power in the land and granted him the resources to achieve everything necessary for his role." This verse shows that Dhul was not just a conqueror, but a leader who used his resources responsibly. The story exemplifies the Quranic principle that true leadership involves justice, humility, and serving humanity, aligned with the divine will. 2. What does the what do the Quranic verses reveal about Dhul mission and character as leader chosen by Allah? Answer. Dhul mission was to traverse the earth, spreading justice and engaging with the communities he encountered. The Quran emphasizes his upright character. In the Quran, he said, "As for him who does wrong, we shall punish him. Then he shall be returned to his Lord, and he will punish him with a dreadful torment. But as the one who believes and acts righteously, he shall have a beautiful reward, and we shall speak to him a gentle word of our command." This demonstrates his sense of accountability to Allah and his balanced approach to governance, rewarding righteousness while deterring wrongdoing. 3. What lessons can we learn from Dhul journey to the East and West regarding exploration and understanding diverse communities? Answer. Dhul journeys reflect a commitment to understanding the diverse needs and challenges of different communities. In his travels, he encountered people living under various conditions. Some were prosperous, while others faced oppression. His ability to engage with these communities highlights the Quranic ideal of universal compassion and justice. Then, after consolidating his conquests in the West, he traveled on another route until he reached the place towards the east, where he perceived the rising of the sun. He found it seemingly rising over a people for whom we had not made any shelter from it. This indicates his attentiveness to each community's unique circumstances and his intention to improve their conditions while increasing fairness. It's an interesting point, that one, because that's actually quite a modern concept. You think about it historically, many countries, many societies didn't really consider people from different circumstances and how to actually handle that. There were exceptions, but they were more the exceptions rather than the norm. And understandably so. I mean, in many places, I mean, people were just trying to survive. 4. How does Dhul approach to various nations demonstrate an ideal balance of justice, mercy, and accountability in governance? Answer. Dhul governance was founded on justice and fairness, evident in his responses to both obedient and rebellious individuals. He held wrongdoers accountable while rewarding the righteous. The Quran portrays him as a leader who maintained accountability without resorting to tyranny. He said, "As for him who does wrong, we shall punish him." His establishment of the barrier for the oppressed community against Gog and Magog demonstrates his mercy and responsiveness to their plight. So they, Gog and Magog, could neither cross over nor make a tunnel through it. 5. What does the construction of the barrier against Gog and Magog, Yajuj and Majuj, symbolize regarding problem solving and community service? Answer. The construction of the barrier symbolizes collaborative problem solving and leadership driven by a commitment to serving the community. Dhul mobilized local resources and labor, guiding the people to protect themselves. Bring me blocks of iron and pour over it, it's written in the Quran. His reliance on Allah, despite his success, is evident in his statement. He, Dhul said, "This is a mercy from my Lord, to hold back the terrors of Gog and Magog from the people. But when my Lord's promise of the last hour comes, he will demolish this barrier and level it to the ground or reduce it to dust particles. And my Lord's promise always comes true." This illustrates humility and a dependence on divine help, even in worldly accomplishments. We have a question here from someone called Ahmed about the translation I'm using. This is actually a commentary on Surah al-Kahf by Professor Dr. Hassan Mohi-ud-Din Qadri. It's not simply a translation of the Quran. This is the book. It was published last year, and it's available from, Minhaj al-Quran, also, other sellers like Amazon. 6. What deeper spiritual meaning can be derived from Dhul dependence on Allah for guidance and strength in his endeavors? Answer. Dhul reliance on Allah teaches the spiritual lesson that Allah ultimately grants all human achievements. Acknowledgement of divine mercy as the source of his success reflects the Quranic teaching. But you cannot wish to do so unless Allah wills it. Indeed, Allah is all-knowing, all-wise. This reliance fosters humility, reminding believers to attribute their accomplishments to Allah and seek guidance in all matters. 7. How does the story emphasize the limitations of human power and the ultimate authority of Allah over all affairs? Answer. Despite his immense power, Dhul recognized the temporary nature of human endeavors and the ultimate authority of Allah. He, Dhul said, "This is a mercy from my Lord, to hold back the terrors of Gog and Magog from the people. But when my Lord's promise of the last hour comes, he will demolish this barrier and level it to the ground or reduce it to dust particles. And my Lord's promise always comes true." This verse highlights that no human power can endure indefinitely and that ultimate sovereignty belongs to Allah. Dhul humility urges believers to view their power as a trust from Allah. Assalamu alaikum, Professor Mohi-ud-Din Hassan. Very nice to meet you. 8. What does the story teach about the interaction between material power and moral responsibility over a believer's life? Answer. The story of Dhul exemplifies the Quranic teaching that material power must be exercised with moral responsibility and in the service of humanity. His actions align with the hadith. The leader of a people is their servant. Dhul Qarnayn's story illustrates that power is a test, and its proper use demands accountability to Allah and service to His creation. 9. How can Dhul Qarnayn's story inspire contemporary leaders to govern with fairness, inclusivity, and reliance on divine principles? Answer. Modern leaders can draw inspirations from Dhul Qarnayn's fairness, inclusivity, and reliance on Allah's guidance. His governance principles, justice, mercy, and community service align with the leadership of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet said, 7 types of people will be shaded by Allah in His shade on the day when there is no shade but His. Among them is the just ruler. This story reminds leaders to seek Allah's pleasure above personal or political gains. 10. In what ways does Dhul Qarnayn's story highlight the importance of collaboration and collective effort in addressing societal issues or challenges? Answer. Dhul Qarnayn's construction of the barrier demonstrates the importance of collective effort. By involving the community, he empowered them while addressing the need for protection. He said, "Whatever my Lord has established me with is better than what I am offering, than what you are offering. So help me with some workforce. I will put up a fortified barricade between you and them." This reflects the Quranic principle of shura, consultation, in solving problems collectively. As mentioned in the Quran, who respond to their Lord establish prayer. Their affairs are decided by mutual consultation and spending charity out of what we have provided for them. This is in Surah 42, Ayah 38. 11. What role does Dhul Qarnayn's humility play in securing his success as a ruler and servant of Allah? Dhul Qarnayn's humility is central to the success as a ruler. Despite being endowed with immense power and resources, he constantly acknowledges Allah as the ultimate source of his abilities. His declaration after constructing the barrier against Gog and Magog reflects this humility. He, Dhul Qarnayn, said, "This is a mercy from my Lord to hold back the terrors of Gog and Magog from the people. But when my Lord's promise of the last hour comes, he will demolish this barrier and leave it to the ground or reduce it to dust particles. And my Lord's promise always comes true." This shows that he did not take credit for his achievements, but viewed them as a manifestation of Allah's mercy. His humility resonates with the Quranic principle, and do not walk proudly on the earth. Indeed, you can neither tear up the earth nor reach the mountains in height. It also aligns with the hadith that I have mentioned earlier, that the leader of people is their servant. Humility in leadership ensures that power is used for the benefit of others, rather than for personal pride. 12. How does the Quranic narrative of Dhul Qarnayn challenge or complement historical and scholarly interpretations of his identity? Answer. The Quranic narrative of Dhul Qarnayn provides a spiritual and moral insights rather than a definitive or historical account. Leaving his exact identity open to interpretation, scholars have debated whether Dhul Qarnayn refers to Alexander the Great, Cyrus the Great, or some other figure. However, the Quran emphasizes his character and mission more than his historical identity. We had established his power in the land and granted him the resources to achieve everything necessary for his role. The Quranic account complements the historical interpretations by highlighting that his leadership was rooted in justice, humility, and service. This focus shifts the discussion from historical specifics to the timeless lessons conveyed by his story. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, "Verily, Allah does not look at your forms or your wealth, rather he looks at your hearts and your deeds." This hadith emphasizes that the focus should be on Dhul Qarnayn's moral and spiritual qualities rather than on his worldly status. And of course, that applies to every single one of us as well. Whether you are a high person or whether you are an ordinary person, whatever level or role you have within society, Allah is not looking at that. Allah is looking at your heart and what you are doing, and whether you discharge any responsibilities you have with honor and integrity. Allah is not looking at these other things. 13. What parallels can be drawn between Dhul Qarnayn's story and the challenges that modern nations face in dealing with global issues such as injustice and corruption? Answer. Dhul Qarnayn's story offers profound parallels for modern nations facing global challenges such as injustice and corruption. His just governance and ability to address the needs of diverse communities serve as a model for inclusivity and fairness. For instance, his response to the oppressed people facing threats from Gog and Magog reflects the need for collective action against injustice. So help me with some workforce. I will put up a barricade between you and them. Modern parallels include addressing global issues such as inequality, environmental degradation, and international conflicts through collaboration and ethical leadership. And of course, none of these issues can really be solved by any one person or one leader or one nation on their own. They can only be solved collectively by countries working together, and also international organizations working together. Dhul Qarnayn's reliance on divine guidance and humility also serves as a reminder for contemporary leaders to seek higher principles and accountability in their governance. Furthermore, his example highlights the Quranic call for justice. Allah commands you to deliver trusts to their rightful owners, and if you judge between people, judge with justice. This principle pertains to addressing systematic corruption and promoting transparent and equitable systems worldwide. I hope you find these reflections and my other content useful and beneficial. If you do, please like and subscribe to my videos and my channels. And also, there is a Buy Me a Coffee link on my social media. If you support this link, and even if it's just a small amount on a regular basis, this helps me to focus on producing content and also to increase my investment in producing this content. I'm deliberately keeping this as far as possible free at the point of use, so it is available to whoever needs it. And that is still an investment on my part, though. That takes time, it takes effort, and it stops me from doing other things. So if you support me in this effort, then you also get a share of the blessings. So please, if you are able to do that, bear that in mind. And any such contributions are greatly appreciated, and may Allah reward you. I will bid you goodbye until Monday, and I wish you all a very good evening and a wonderful weekend. May Allah bless you all. And until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of Allah be with you.